Let's build a simple villager breeder that will separate the adult villagers from the babies as they grow. Simply toss in some food and wait for them to breed. The babies will then fall down into the baby chamber, where they will live safe and sound until they're tall enough to interact with the water above their heads. Once that happens, they will then swim over to the adult chamber, where they will hang out until collected for distribution. It's also good to know that there is an alternative method to a village breeder, where we have two farmers that are planting and growing crops all on their own, so that they give themselves food and then automatically breed as they go along. Now, this one is a little more complex, a little more slow, and a little less reliable. And so that's why we're not going to build this design today. It's just good to know that it exists. Another mechanic that's good to know is that we don't really want to have beds and workstations around our breeder. Now, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but especially if you're planning on building an iron farm, you don't want that iron farm to be anywhere near this breeder, or the villages could stretch, they could merge, and that would end up causing it to break, causing the golems to spawn where they shouldn't. So if you're planning on using a breeder to build an iron farm, build it all by itself really far away. Now, I also see people building a breeder just to build a single iron farm, which in that case, it's kind of wasted effort, to be honest. It's much easier to breed the villagers in place. It even avoids problems by not having to transport the villagers across the world. Now, if you're planning on building a complex stacked iron farm, or you're selling villagers on a multiplayer server, or you just want the cosmetics, those would be why you might want to build a breeder. But if you're planning on just building a single iron farm, skip the breeder and breed in place. With all of that in mind, let's build it. So the build area is going to be 4 by 14, stuck out 1 here on the right side on those 3 blocks. We're going to start off on the left side by placing a 2 by 2 pillar that is 5 blocks tall, so that we can start placing beds from the top down, breaking a single layer as we go. So we'll have a total of 12 beds, which should be enough for any sort of use. But if for some reason you want to have more villagers in your breeder, you can add additional stacks of beds to the left or to the right of these. Just don't have any less than 12 beds. Now, 1 block from the beds in the floor, we're going to make a 2 by 4 section out of either soul sand or out of mud. Just any block that isn't a full block. And then we're going to surround this in solid blocks. Now, here in the front, you can use glass if you want to see the babies in the chamber, or really you can replace any of the solid blocks with glass. None of it has to be a certain block. But then on the first 3 rows, we're going to go up by an additional 8 blocks. So that the first 3 rows are 9 blocks tall. Then in the middle, 3 blocks from the top, we're going to place 2 glass panes right there, with a trapdoor on top of one of them opened, then a second trapdoor on top of that. Then surround the top ones in 4 blocks, so that we're left with 2 tall chambers separated by trapdoors on top of glass panes. Then we need to go up by 3 blocks on these last 2 rows on the front and the back. Then place buttons directly above your mud or your soul sand, whichever you used, with 2 slabs here on these front 2 blocks, and buckets of water above the buttons there on the back, so that the water flows above the buttons and gets stopped by the slabs. Now, diagonally up from the slabs, we need to place a button, 1 on each side, diagonally from the slabs. Now we're going to build 3 blocks on that side, and another wall looping around, so that we have a 2 wide entrance and a 5 by 2 chamber. Then in front of the 2 wide entrance, we're going to place 6 glass, and then we could build another window if we want to. Again, any of this could be solid blocks or glass, it doesn't matter. But we're going to go up by 3 more blocks along this edge, so that it's all 4 blocks tall. Then place a button right next to the slab, and diagonally up from that button, on both sides, next to the slab and diagonally up, so that we can place buckets of water directly above the slabs. that will flow forward away from the slabs. Then under here, in this corner, we need to place a bucket of water that is opposite from that corner part that's stuck out there in the front. Just a single bucket of water so the water flows toward the front. And that's it, we're now totally done. All that's left is to load in some villagers. So we need to get 2 villagers from wherever and load them up there into those top 2 chambers. The easiest way to do this is to put them in a boat and build a scaffolding elevator thing, so that as we crawl up the scaffolding while holding the boat will just fly up the scaffolding with us. Then we can simply just jump on the top of the farm and the boat will follow. And once you get the boat up here, we want to get it as centralized over that hole as we can. Now, if you want to, you could build like a little wall to make sure the villagers can't fall off and can't escape. But really, as long as we get the boat remotely centralized above those 2 holes, it should be okay. They shouldn't really like wander off too bad. So just push the boat until it's remotely over these 2 holes, and then break the boat. And then push the villagers into the hole. Now, if both villagers fall into the same hole, you can just knock them down by breaking the glass and restart. But then just feed them some food and wait for them to breed. They will automatically share food between each other, so you don't have to worry about distributing the food or anything like that. And I made this tall enough where they won't give food to other villagers once they grow. So it'll be food efficient. And then once the babies grow, they'll be tall enough where their heads will be stuck in the water, so they will start to swim, which will cause them to swim into the adult chamber. That's also why we used soul sand as the floor of the baby chamber to help ensure that the babies can't jump up into the water. But to get an adult villager out of the chamber, all we have to do is place down a minecart in that corner, and it will just suck a villager out. Then we can send him off to whatever we're using him for. Now, the reason I separated the 2 breeder villagers with trapdoors is that I found without them, they would kind of bump into each other and occasionally cancel their breeding trigger. Or like one of them would get shoved into the corner and just kind of give up on life. But the whole reason why I made this breeder is because I recently designed a quad iron farm that is fairly simple to build. But as I was going to record that video, I realized that, well, we kind of need villagers to transport to get there. Now, honestly, personally, for times like that, I would just build a box, breed some villagers in the box, and call it good. Really, the only reason that I could see a breeder being necessary is like, if you want certain biome cosmetics on your villagers, if you want to sell villagers to other players on multiplayer, or if you're building something super complex, like a 16 stacked iron farm. But for everything else, breeding in place is so much easier and just avoids so many problems. So let me know what you're going to use this breeder for. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. But that's all we got for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Always remember that you are totally awesome. But above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.